And this just in, Ohio Republican Congressman Jim Jordan just slamming Democrats on X, saying this: Democrats had no problem with the 80,000 IRS agents targeting Americans, but they're terrified DOGE wants to look into government corruption. And this is a massive problem. You've got sort of a retaliation situation happening here with the confirmations. David, they're mad about one thing that's happening with DOGE or policies they don't like with Marco Rubio and USAID. And so they're trying to take it out on the confirmations and the hearings. But that really hurts the American people. That doesn't allow the president and his team to get to work. It's the third time I'm bringing it up on this show, but I think it's important. You saw when we had that tragedy in the air, you needed your Secretary of Transportation in place. You needed Secretary of Defense in place so that they could get on these issues right away. The longer this takes, the more it hurts America.
Well, and that's a bipartisan comment that, generally speaking, blocking nominations as a way of trying to score political points just hurts the country. I totally agree with you. But I would argue, even if they want to win an argument, even if they want to persuade people, the screaming, the calling Elon Musk a Nazi, the extremist stuff, I personally have had significant problems with certain things that, let's say, former President Obama or former President Biden wanted to do. But the idea of going straight to this code red, everyone's whatever, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so they lose credibility. If there's a credible reason to be concerned about what they're doing with USAID or with DOGE, they lose credibility with this kind of hysteria.
And it's amazing to me, Brian, because just to think about what Jim Jordan posted on X moments ago, this notion that the Democrats were trying to add IRS agents to shake down really middle-class Americans to try to raise revenue for spending that many people in the country didn't support. Yet, for some reason, when we're looking at the government and we're trying to trim fat and cut waste, that's a big problem.
It's such a good point, because what they're saying, in essence, is Americans are corrupt, so we need more people to go after them, but the government's not corrupt, so we shouldn't ask any questions of the government. I think, though, what's happening here is what's being revealed is the left doesn't have any ideas to go after what's happening with DOGE and Musk and Trump. That's why they're calling names. You call names when you don't have an idea. And I know name calling happens all over the spectrum, on the right, on the left, whatever. But at this point, if 2.5 weeks into Trump, you're going Nazi card,
I know.
You have lost. It's part of why you lost the election, and you're now already losing 2 weeks into the term. So again, choose your indicators. There are some indicators where when you see anger, you actually know a good thing's happening.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what's happening.
And their agenda isn't even really working. I mean, they're making the point that we don't support some of this stuff, but at the same time, his nominees are pushing through. You've got Gabbard and RFK Jr. going to get voted on last week. Pam Bondi, we saw today. Doug Collins as well. And so, you know, whether you like it or not, or you stall to try to hurt people, he's going to get the work done.
Yeah, and he is. And, you know, look, this is, I mean, look, it's amazing to me that we've got, that the GOP has more seats in the Senate than the House. How often does that happen in American history, right? But, yeah, they've got the support. And, you know, look, I think all of these nominees knew that they were going to be grilled. They knew that they were going to be attacked, and they were. At the end of the day, I do believe that Gabbard and RFK Jr. are going to get through. I will also say, going back to the issue of, you know, this move by DOGE and trying to kind of root out government waste and to hopefully, like I said earlier, bring down inflation. You know, the one thing that the editorial board of the Journal points out this morning is that what really Elon Musk could do in all of this and all of these arguments we're seeing and all this blow up by the Democrats, work within the law, but build political support for what you were doing. And I think that transparency issue is what is so important that we talked about in the last hour.
Yeah, and I'm glad Maria brought up that Wall Street Journal piece that talked about Elon Musk and how the president uses people as advisors. He listens, he makes the ultimate decision. You know, they're saying, oh, Elon Musk is the co-president. He's not, Taylor.
Correct.
But he's saying, here's what I can do for you, Mr. President. Do you like it? Let's do it.
Yeah, he did it with SpaceX, with Twitter. He's probably one of the most brilliant, interesting people. If I want an advisor, I want people around me in the room that are much smarter than me, and I can listen and take ideas. My question, my worry, Jackie, to you, and maybe Bonson can weigh in on this. When we were talking about dismantling USAID, yes, it was born by executive order, so maybe people think it can die by executive order. But I read a note that said here in 1998, and this is the problem, Congress enacted a law establishing USAID as a distinct entity within the executive branch, distinguishing it between the functions and that of those of the State Department. So in that report, Bill Clinton said to Congress, USAID will continue as an independent establishment to the executive branch. Does that make it more like you need congressional authority, or can this now mean you can die by executive order?
Can I make just a brief point on that? Congress needs to claw back its authority. For decades, it has ceded all its power to the bureaucracy, and this is a great example of that. Congress is a branch of the government. They have power of the purse. These things should not exist apart from them. What did Rubio say? I can't even get answers from USAID. When I was in Congress and asked questions, I couldn't get answers. David, that to me is the issue. Congress, do your job. Like, step up and reclaim your authority.
There's a direct relationship between the imperialness of presidencies we have and Congress not doing its job. Congress has to be a legislative branch if we're going to limit the size and power and authority of the executive branch. That's the separation of powers envisioned in our Constitution. This USAID thing, it's not just to me about the technicalities of how they undo it, because even within the fact that they passed that in 98, it still has a lot of discretion within the executive branch.
Fair.
What I want is the things that we agreed to do, that we are going to replace it with something different. You're not giving us communication. You're not accountable. You're not getting the job done. You're incompetent. Fine, we're taking this back. But there needs to be private solutions, charitable solutions. Let's go step up and show what we can do, because we can get some of these things done so much better apart from USAID.
And I would just add, I don't think you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. If there's anything that they're doing that is positive, and we were talking with Larry the other day about this, there are some things. So you can continue to do those, but why are we doing the things that don't make sense and spending the extra money? You know, there are not too many people in this country who are going to say, we don't want to help people that are really suffering or really in trouble. Most people are for that, but it's everything else. And that goes into the left's agenda, David, because a lot of it is kind of what their agenda pushing, that people say enough is enough.
Well, the State Department, but the State Department is taking over USAID, just to be clear. So, I mean, it is not going to be...
It's not going to be abolished.
It's not going to be abolished. It is going to be reformed. And Marco Rubio, I think, is the good person to lead that.
Don't throw out the baby, because the children are the future, Jackie. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, boy.
They
Here
are.
we go.